Greetings, users and programs. This is Etari Living Sacrifice, and I've got my good friend Hatrix11 here, the Diablo King, the Diablo God. This guy has been trying to get me to play Diablo 2 for years, and he finally sold me on it when D2 Resurrected was coming out. I was like, you know what? Now's the time. And it's a blessing and a curse for him because now we're playing together, and guess what? I got a ton of questions for him like all the time, and he has been awesome enough to help coach me and help teach me things, some stuff as stupid and basic questions. So we're basically going to be doing like a noobs in hell questions for the, what would you call it, questions for the experts today. And really appreciate you taking the time to do this, man.
Hey man, always a pleasure. Thanks for having me. Let's get right into it. What you got for me?
Absolutely. So some stupid basic questions that guys like you are probably like, yeah, you've known this for years, but guys like me, somebody got to learn them sometimes. So
Sure.
I finally made it. I've got 2 characters to level 80.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I've got what I think is good gear. I've got what I think is decent gear, and I try to do anything past Act 1 in hell, and I get my butt kicked.
Okay.
All right. So I've been doing basically Act 1 over and over and over again. I've been doing the pit. I watched a couple of your videos, and it talked about the pit. So I started doing the pit, and then I started doing Andy, and then I started doing Countess, and then I started doing cows, and I've just been doing that probably close to like 50 to 70 times now.
Right.
And everything that I show you that I'm like, oh, just look what I found today. You're like, yeah, that's crap. Is that normal?
That's normal. It's part of the experience. It's part of the learning curve. You know, everybody is going to go through that. Everybody's enjoying playing the game, and therefore they're becoming very attached to the game. And you know, they think something's cool. They want to hold on to it. But when you get to the kind of where you're at, where it's kind of end game area, you're in hell. Everybody else that's playing now is pretty much in hell as well. So they're also doing their 100 cal runs and whatnot. And so now it's a matter of your items versus their items. You know what I mean? And in the grand scheme of things, out of the, I don't know, hundreds of thousands, however many people there are, you know, there's just certain items that are good and certain items you just let it go. You leave them on the floor.
Okay, so I'm not doing anything wrong. Like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing at this point in the game.
Right.
Okay.
And then you're going to get what's called the hard slap in the face with reality when you realize that those items that you probably thought were great, unfortunately, maybe they're not terrible. It's just that you're not going to sell them. There's no demand, you know, supply and demand. There's no demand for them. And so unless you're keeping it for yourself for another character that doesn't have anything better prepared, that's really the only reason you would kind of hold on to those things. Otherwise, you eat it.
Good to go. I did watch your video on helms today. That was
nice.
That was super
Very
helpful.
Nice. Those helms, anything that's not those helms, you eat it.
Okay. So that kind of goes into the question of, well, I'll hold off on that question. I'll hold off on that one. So I've done the pit Andy Countess, you know, like I said, 50, 70 times now. How do I know when to move on? Like, how do I know what power level I'm at? Like, if there were, like, there's no, you know how in other games you're like, oh, you need to be at least level 72 or whatever before you go do this area. There's no, how do I measure that in Diablo?
Sure. So there's a few things. There is your personal comfortability, meaning how fast are you killing stuff while staying alive? I mean, you know when you're in trouble and when things are hard. Like you know, right? When things are difficult, you know, almost barely escape, or you are dying. You know, things are just taking forever to kill. The merc dies constantly. You know, these types of things are a good indicator of I need to beef up a little bit.
Okay.
Now I wouldn't try to think of it as moving on. I mean, because there's plenty of things you can do. It just depends on what your character is, as far as you know, the different areas in the game where you can find or have a good chance, or farming areas or areas to find items. You specifically use a assassin, a trap assassin, correct?
Right now, yep.
So that, you're not being able to teleport to bosses and kill them real quick. So some things are out of the question for that. Um, cows, unfortunately, is just going to be your best bet as far as like monster density. There's a lot of mobs there. No resistances really, except for like maybe a few bosses here and there.
Right.
And with that density, your class is pretty. Thanks, bud. Your class is pretty much designed to kill big groups of monsters like that. Very fast.
Little cameo. What's the cat's name?
Yeah, right. This is Alexander. He is 1 year old. He's a big boy.
Good to go.
Big boy. So yeah, I mean, you're kind of with your specific, like each class, and because of resistances that monsters have, and the class's ability to move, kind of have their own set of areas, if you will, that they would farm.
Okay.
So cows for you would be one area. The next level up would probably be like Chaos Sanctuary, where Diablo is.
Right.
But there are immunities there.
Right.
So until you kind of have a mercenary that's strong enough to kill those things quickly, you might be out of luck with doing that. I mean, you might be able to do it, but it might take so long that it's not worth it.
Gotcha.
And then even beyond that, there's the place before Baal, the Worldstone Keep. That place is amazing for loot.
Okay.
But and then you kill Baal and get great loot there as well. But those things, you have the souls there, the little ghosts that zap the crap out of you. It's even more dangerous than chaos. So I mean, for your class specifically, that is probably your 3-tier, areas until you get something that helps you move around faster, or until you do a different character.
Gotcha. So I always hate it, but I know the answer for a lot of questions in life, not just for Diablo, is, well, it depends.
Right.
I freaking hate that answer, but it tends to be true because there's a lot of factors that go into it. He just really wants to be in the video.
Yeah, he's just about it. He never does this, but of course, since we're recording, he's all about it.
I bet it's perfect. It's perfect because you got the green. It's Halloween. Is it this week? Yeah, Halloween is this week. You got the green screen. You got the orange cat and the orange shirt and the black cat. It's perfect. It's perfect. Good to go.
I planned it all years ago.
That's right.
For this exact day.
so it's not so much that you move on. It's more so like it's even at your level, like with your with one of your highest level characters, it sounds like you might still do the pit because the level 1 run, the cows and the pit and all that, because that's still where a majority, like anything can drop in the pit, right?
Right.
Anything. There's nothing in the game that can't drop in the pit, as far as I could tell, based on one of your videos. Okay.
Correct.
It just might not be a super high chance to drop for that particular piece of armor. Okay. Good to go.
Which leads to how fast can you do it? How much gear can you sacrifice and still keep that fast clear speed? When I say sacrifice gear, like instead of using damage gear, put magic find gear on. You know what I mean? So there's kind of a balance that you find, and of course, when you get something really good gear wise, that kind of gives you more room to maybe change something else over here, so on and so forth, until you kind of have that perfect half and half, or whatever you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I get
Perfect
what you're
comes
saying.
together perfectly.
Yeah.
Another thing is, at least me personally, when it comes to magic find and things like that, a lot of people have what's the perfect amount? Is it 250 altogether, magic find with all my gear? Is it way over 500? Like my character's 504 magic find. The way I see it is unique items, they still drop with 0 magic find whatsoever,
Right.
So unless you are specifically designing your character to kill things like bosses, for a great example, that just have a great drop, just explosion of drops, you know what I mean?
Right.
I wouldn't recommend magic find. I mean, get it if you can, but like certain things, like some of the best in slot items just simply have it on it. So you'll have some magic find, even though,
That's not what it's built for.
Right, but build it specifically, especially even like Javazon's, just clear speed, man. Just get through it fast, man. Get some run speed boots, get some run speed charms, a run speed tiara helmet, and whatever you have to do to move quick. And you can even get a bow that you can kind of switch weapons to your switch, and the bow will give you a faster run speed aura. So you can, like, as you're running, if there's nothing to kill, switch to that real quick as you're running, and then switch back to your javelins once you get close to a mob and start smacking them down. Speed is everything. Speed is everything. I would, with the javs on, I wouldn't worry about MF at all. It'd be all clear speed, 100%. Or you're an assassin. I'm sorry, assassin. Anyways, all clear speed all the time.
Gotcha. It's funny because you actually just answered one of my other questions. Like I've seen you with switching back and forth between weapons, and I was like, what? I didn't understand why you were doing it. Like, why does he have two weapons? Like, isn't one stronger than the other? But now that makes a lot of sense because one is for resistances and the other one's for damage, or depending on, like, one. I'm assuming one might be, hey, well, this is a lightning heavy area. I'll switch to this one because that's where I've got all my lightning resistance on, or something like that. Is that
right?
Is that kind
of? So you have your main weapon, right? And that's what you're doing to do all your killing, all your stuff. That most of the time that's what you have out. Then your offhand, or we'll call it offhand, your switch. You have a couple different options. You can use things that buff your character, either with plus skills specifically to certain, like for you as an assassin. I don't know if you use burst of speed or if you use cloak of.
Right now I'm using burst of speed almost all the time, but I have moved burst of shadows. Used to be all the way, or the cloak of shadows used to be all the way out, like the end of my tree, or at the end of my.
It's not called. What's it called? It's not cloak of shadows. Fade. Yeah. So fade.
Fade. The one
or maybe you would have some claws on your offhand that would be +3 or more to fade or burst of speed. You know what I mean? So that you buff. And then you switch back to your kill stuff. That way you keep that higher level buff on yourself.
So it stays on. Okay, gotcha.
The most sought after switch weapon is what's called arms, and that gives you extra health, +1 to skills for a little while. That's the most common. But there's also budget things. Like I said, the claws that give you your own buffs. There's like I said, that bow that any class can use that will give you run speed.
All right, so when I was going through the game, the very first time, you start out, the only thing you really have available to you is grays and blues, right? And then later on you have blues, and then you go from blues to what was it, rare? I call them yellows.
Sure.
Is that rare? Yeah.
Yeah, rare yellows.
And then the next one would be uniques. So when I was playing the game, I just thought, hey, it's going to be like World of Warcraft, where, hey, I'm going to get the next tier up. But the crazy thing that Diablo does is, come to find out, there's a bunch of grays and whites that you actually need to be on the lookout for. Could you go?
Every item is valuable, or can have a value to it. Even the whites, even the blues. You can find a blue that'll be better than any other yellow version of it. You know what I mean? So everything has a value. You just kind of have to know, which is why I put out that series of Keep It or Eat It to kind of help with that.
I'll link that in the description below for sure. Because that was super helpful this morning. So you basically, whichever character you're building, you're looking out for something specific.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So new players, how do we learn what those items are without calling up Pat every time and be like, hey, how do I know what to do next? How do I know what to look for next? Or what are some good ones?
So when it comes to items and finding out if they're worth anything, is that what your question is, or if they're worth keeping?
So like when with grays in particular, at first I thought I was just looking for slots.
Right.
I thought that's all I was looking for was the most number of slots I could find, because I was going to put gems or rune words or anything like that in there.
Right.
But then like, oh, well, that one has low damage. Well, how do you know what the highest damage is? You just like, how do you know what stats on each particular weapon you're looking for is?
Gotcha. So when you're in normal, you just kind of want to just get through normal, you know, get to hell, because and the reason for that is not only are there classes of, you know, white, blue, green, yellow, and gold. There's also tiers of armor, meaning there's, you know, what's called normal items, which you'll see if it's a like if you're in Act 1, you find a cap, you know, little cap, right?
Right.
There is a version in that's technically a nightmare version, but sometimes it drops in hell. Sometimes you might see it at the end of normal, called a something, right?
War hat.
And yeah, war hat. That's what it is.
Okay.
And then there is and that's called the exceptional version. Then there's the elite version, which is called a shako. And you know, as you go higher in that tiers to elite, it's gonna have more defense, and therefore it's just everything. And therefore anything below it is just useless, right?
Right.
For things for at least defense reason wise, right?
Right.
So when you're looking for things like rune word stuff, you know, getting to hell and finding those elite items, it should be your focus if you're focusing on that type of thing. And anything below hell, I wouldn't even think about rune words, except I wouldn't think about rune words at all.
So let me rephrase the question. So I'm assuming we're already in hell.
Okay.
And we're seeing everything drop on the floor. What makes you pause to be like, ooh, maybe I should take a look at that one?
You mean if it's a white item or anything in general? White
or gray, anything in general, but specifically like, because I was just walking past the grays and whites,
right?
Never even taken a look at them. If it says superior on it, or like what makes you say, you know what, let me at least take a look at it?
So the item itself, the name of the item is important. There's a list of them that you just mentally make as you go along. I have my screen pulled up right now if you want to take a look at what I'm looking at. So this is a list of my white items that I picked up, right?
Okay.
This is everything. As you see, it's a lot of chess pieces and a lot of shields and whatnot. Specifically, you know, elite bases like this. Archon plate usually has a pretty low amount of required strength. And this is just things you kind of learn as you go, especially if you're trying to trade for stuff. And then eventually you're going to make your first nice chess piece rune word, and you're going to do your research. Well, what chess piece do I want? And then you're going to realize the kind of differences between some of these. You know, this requires a little bit more strength, and the defense is lower. But to get back on point of how do I know what to pick up? The names of them: Archon plate, Hubert, Great Hubert. You know, Mage plate is a nightmare armor.
Okay.
But it is used specifically for Enigma for a lot of reasons, especially the low requirement of strength.
Okay.
Colossus blades, check them out. Obviously Monarchs, everybody wants their, you know, spirit weapon or spirit shield. So I always pick up some Monarchs when I can. But most of this is going to be armor. Then there's things then there's things called class specific white items, right? So things like claws, like my videos show, the druid helms, barbarian helms, paladin shields. They all have special, even though they're white, they will come with something else. Usually, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they have nothing. Sometimes they have something else on them, like a white wand. You know, will have necromancer skills on it. For example, white claws will have +2 certain assassin skills on them. And every class kind of has something that applies to. So paladins get shields, barbarians get helms, druids get helms, sorcerers get weapons, wands.
Yes.
Necros get wands. You know, what am I missing? Amazons, I don't even know what they get. I think they get bows and maybe javelins.
Okay. So
and
to kind of dig a little deeper, this you have 3 monarchs, for example. The first 2, they're superior, They have much higher defense than the one that has 4 slots, right?
Right.
They're objectively a lot better.
Right.
I know there's a quest where you can add 1 or 2 slots to some of those.
Sure.
Well,
Well,
but I thought Monarch in particular took 3. Like, why do you pick up the whites? Why do you?
So the Larza quest, which is the guy in Act 5 that gives you the sockets on your items. He has certain rules about his sockets and how he does it. If it is a white item, not it has to be white with no sockets already on it. If it's a white item, it will give it the maximum amount of sockets.
Really?
Which in this case would be 4. So this superior monarch would be 4, just like this, but it would be superior. There is a way to take a white item, put it in a cube with a recipe, and get a random amount of sockets. So you could get 4, you could get 3, maybe you need 3.
Okay.
And you might get 1, and then you just have to eat it because you just got 1 socket.
All right.
But there is a cube recipe to do it. But the thing about the cube recipe is it has to be a basic white item like this. So you're just Zakram Shield. It cannot be a superior.
Gotcha.
So these superior items will be the max amount of sockets, which is fine in these cases. But there may be other cases or situations where that might not be what you are looking for.
So you're using these specifically for, I know you're big on Sorceress, and what's your other main?
The Paladin.
The Paladin. So these are specifically for Sorceress and Paladin?
These are for any class.
Any class. Okay.
Yeah.
So just basically Google what you're looking for. Google, hey, what does this class use the most of, or what's these?
Yeah, I mean, it's a 20-year-old game, right? So everything has already been figured out for the most part.
Right.
As far as builds, you can try to be weird, but you can try to do something different, a little off of a build, not a build guide. But it's just not going to be any viable, anything close to the perfected guide that has been made, by 20 years of effort from hundreds of thousands of people.
Right.
So, and I have a link in my Discord under guides where I link like a website for builds and stuff like that, underpinned. And the idea is take a look at what they recommend using. For example, remember I mentioned that wands. So a lot of these class specific items are, like I say, that's what when you're talking specific white items, even rare items. Because a rare item will still have that +3 to, let's say whatever your main, like you're lightning sentry, right? So even a rare item is +3 to lightning sentry. Let's say it just has it on there, but it's rare, so it can also roll +2 to assassin skills as well. Well, that's +5 to lightning sentry. You know what I mean? So you can actually get a lot out of rare class specific weapons. Even magic can get +6 to lightning sentry. Which is more than a rare item.
Blue is considered magic, right? The blue items?
Blue.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So for example, I found a wand. So this wand specifically, what it was before the rune word was just a white wand. Well, no, obviously it says white. It's just a wand, and it had +3 to poison nova, right?
Okay.
So this is +3 to poison bone skill. Once I put the rune word in, it now adds all this other stuff, and it still keeps the +3 to poison nova. So now I technically have +6 to poison nova, which makes that initial base, which we call the white item, is a base item without the rune word in it, more valuable because of what it had, all the skills, the plus skills on it prior to that.
Gotcha. So did you make that with the Larza quest, or did you roll that, or did it already have 2 sockets?
I think it might have already had 2 sockets, and it doesn't matter because they rolled. I mean, their max is 2, so as long as it's not 1 socket, you're fine. So if it's 2 or if it's 0, you just take it to Larza.
I did realize I could Google the max number of slots for each weapon, the other day, so that was super helpful. Okay, that was really helpful, man. Thank you.
Good. Glad to hear it.
Because that's been bugging. I've spent so much time in, like, cows drop so much stuff, and I'm like, I pick it up and I'm like, it's got 4 sockets, it's got 6 sockets, and then everybody will be like, yeah, but it sucks, and I'm like, but You know,
Right.
so
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. Let me see if I just wish I could show you kind of like what goes through my head as I'm like doing cows. You know what I mean?
hmm
Because you're gonna see a lot of crap on the ground, and to be honest, like eventually your eyes train themselves to see certain words and certain things like that. Just so you know what you're looking out for.
hmm
You know, jewels, gems, charms, things that you'll always end up picking up just to look at them. But
hmm
your brain kind of automatically is trained to look for those first, and the more you play it, the more it kind of gets like that. But let's see if I can just do some. I just want to clear like one set of cows
Sure.
and just see some shit on the ground and like say what going through my brain when I see this loot drop. So potions, yada yada yada. Ancient sword. I know that that's crap. There's nothing good about an ancient sword. I just know that
hmm
from years of experience. There's certain bases of swords that have higher attack speeds than others that end up being like if it was a different type of weapon, I probably would check it out, but it's not.
What do you?
Poleaxe. I know that that's a low for like if this was a instead of an ancient sword, if it was a phase blade,
Gotcha.
I would
Okay.
look at it. But because it's an ancient sword, it's junk. Poleaxe I know is a low level base item, 18 to 39 damage. We're not looking anything
Gotcha.
for there.
It
Didn't see any
doesn't matter how
class
many
items.
sockets it has because it's
Right. It's low level. We just move on.
right.
Pick up the rubes. I'm trying to see if I can get like an elite item to drop here. Cow King's always interesting. Not this time though.
Of course.
Repeating crossbow I know is low.
So it doesn't matter if it says superior on it. It doesn't matter.
No, if it's low.
just-
So here's an example. Superior Colossus Sword. Colossus Swords are an elite item. So that actually could be good. Now, generally, Colossus Blades are better. They're still elite as well. But this is a 4-socketed Superior Colossus Sword. This you would do your research on.
Mhm.
If you don't know off the top of your head. I know off the top of my head, 4 sockets don't do anything for swords. But we were close there. That's one thing to look at. Check out how many sockets are on that thing. You might have had something there. But
Gotcha.
that's an elite base weapon is what was the first kind of tick in our brains. And if you go to the Diablo, what's it called? The Ariat Summit. I don't know if you use that website a lot, but there is a list of what's elite, what's exceptional, what's normal. The normal, hell, and nightmare versions of everything. There's a list there. And you kind of might want to memorize it somewhat. I mean, you'll get it eventually just by playing. But, let's say you're out and about and you can't play the game, and you're kind of thinking about it, go check it out. Get some studying in a little bit. Because it'll help you kind of identify things and move throughout the map faster if you don't have to waste a lot of time contemplating this and that. Here's like a example, War Fist. I know that's a assassin thing, right?
Okay.
So I'm gonna check it out. 2 sockets, but you see how it's got plus some skills on there.
Uh-huh.
I know specifically assassin weapons need to have 3 sockets.
Okay.
So this is no good. But you see, we got 1 lightning sentry. We were close.
Mm-hmm.
Vampire bone gloves. I know all rare gloves you want to check out. You're looking for 20 attack speed and life leech, mana leech, and then some stats, some good stats. If you can find anything like that, it is useful. And they can also get plus skills to like Amazon skills, and I think assassin, but just assassin melee skills.
Okay.
And that's another thing. Just play the game. You'll eventually figure it out. The more you play, the more you'll figure out. But
Sure, absolutely. As with everything, right?
Right.
As with everything.
Yeah, class-specific items are very important because of those extra stats they have. So if there's anything I would say about picking stuff up on the ground is elite bases and class-specific items.
When you say elite bases, what do you mean?
Like that sword we looked at. That was an elite item, meaning,
Oh,
just
because
like
of the name. Because because of the name, that's
Right.
an elite. Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha. See, I thought it was like superior. I thought that meant it was the best.
Superior is just like let's see if I can find an example. Like, have you ever seen something that said it was cracked or damaged? Like right here, cracked bone weave, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the same category as superior bone weave. This one's cracked, so it's gonna have probably lower defense than it normally would have, whereas superior has higher defense than it would normally have. You know what I
Okay.
mean? but we don't really care. I mean, superior is great, but if it's not the correct base, the correct word, it doesn't matter whatsoever. So if it's not a correct, I mean, actually Boneweave is an elite base. If it's not an elite base, or maybe a class specific base like this, we don't care that it's superior at all. It doesn't matter.
Gotcha. So you just have to look at the list of, okay, if I'm looking for claws, look for the list of what the exceptional
Claws are.
Claws, look for the specific names. Gotcha. That clears up so much.
Good.
That clears up so much. Just be on the lookout for like learn 2 or 3 a day. Learn 2 or 3 a day that you're going to look for, because you can't learn them all at one time. Don't worry about it, but learn 2 or 3 a day. Okay, today I'm going to look for these, and then eventually you'll just have 10 in your back pocket. The knowledge, yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like, is there anything that you would have picked up that as I'm doing this that I'm not? You know what I mean?
Oh, I would have picked up before this conversation. I picked up everything that said superior on it to take a look at it. I thought that was the word I was looking for, was superior. I wasn't looking for particular names.
Sure. So right here we just found some gloves, and these aren't too bad. Any gloves really that are rare you want to pick up, because this one rolled 20 attack speed, which is great. That's what we're looking for. Mana stolen per hit, which is great. That's what we're looking for. A little bit of defense, a little bit of some stat points like dexterity. There's also, like I said, you can also get plus skills. You can get +2 to bow skills, +2 to javelin skills, and then +2 to, I think, martial arts are the 3 different types of plus skills on there. So this would have had either of any of those plus skills in addition to these stats. It would be one of the best items in the game.
Really?
Yeah, this is a very close to being amazing right now.
But close is not enough for this.
Not really. Early in the season. This, and that's another thing. It's kind of early in the season. You're looking for, people would love this, but now we're at a point where everybody pretty much has found something like this, and now they're looking for that next best level up, which is going to be the plus skills one. You know.
Gotcha. You've kind of covered this for me a little bit already, but if you could go into a little more detail. So I think I've got great gear. You know, for my assassin, I've got a full green set, Natalia set, Bartux, and I might be able to find some better boots, maybe a little bit better gloves or something like that. But for the most part, I've got what I think is pretty decent gear. But I'm still getting my butt kicked outside of Act 1 in Hell. Like, how do I know? How do I learn what to shoot for next? Like, instead of saying, okay, this is what you're looking for, like, how do I learn to learn in this game?
Well, I mean, you got to find out what your shortcomings are. Okay. What is it that's keeping you from? I mean, let's say, what do you want to do? You want to go kill Bale by yourself? Go try it. What killed you? Why? You know what happened? If you failed, you got to figure out why you failed, and work from there. So if you just got one-shotted by something, just came up and smacked you in the face, and killed you in one shot, maybe it's your HP. Maybe your HP isn't enough. Maybe you can do some charms, maybe even, kind of respec yourself just to make sure you're using just the amount of strength that you need and just the amount of dex you need. And that way you can put everything else into your vitality to make sure you have the most vitality you can possibly have. You could also, look into replacing some other pieces of gear, obviously. I know you're using, 2 claws right now? You could use the 1 Nat's Claw, and on the other hand, use a shield.
Okay.
You can use a shield that gives you a bunch of resistance, faster hit recovery, like a spirit shield like this one. A bunch of faster hit recovery, a bunch of resistances, +2 to skills, which is going to make your damage more. Or you could even use a shield that's strictly meant for defensive measures, meaning you'll take a lot more hits. I don't know if I have an example here. I don't. But it's called a Storm Shield. There's another shield. It's pretty much the unique version of a Monarch.
Okay.
And it does damage reduction. And it will very well help keep you alive if you're just walking around and getting one shot smacked is your issue, then that's how you kind of tackle that issue is, what can I change? Do I need more health? Do I need better gear? Do I need to change skills or stats?
I liked your answer. It was I felt like it was a life lesson from a video game. Like you failed,
Right.
learn from the failure. Like be like look at
Right.
yourself from an outside perspective. Okay, what caused the failure?
Well, if you want to do more and do other things, go do it,
Right.
and then fail at it and find out, and then figure out what it was that was the main issue of the failure. Was the
Okay.
merc not strong enough? Maybe your merc needs better gear. If your merc's dying all the time, probably need some upgrades. If if it's just you, and and then there's also something to say about skill.
Okay.
I mean, dodge. You are most of the time, unless you are a paladin or something, barbarian, something that just naturally is tanky. You being a
Glass
trap
cannon.
assassin,
Yeah.
technically you're a caster class, and generally they are more squishy because you're not designed to just run into a bunch of mobs and start smacking them down. I don't know if you can see my screen right now.
Yeah.
But these things right here, if I just stood here, I get wrecked eventually, right?
Right.
But I'll teleport around back and forth, kind of, to make sure these little balls kind of never really get to me as I start casting spells in here. And that kind of keeps me and my merc alive. If I didn't have teleport, I'd be running. See, these things aren't hitting me? I'd be running, cast some spells, run some more, cast some spells, run some more, make sure they're not hitting me. I mean, there's a skill base to it as well. It's not just all about gear and everything.
Gotcha.
And I'd be comfortable doing that completely naked. I believe my character would stay alive. That's how comfortable I am with being able to kind of dodge that kind of crap.
Okay.
So there is skill base to it as well. And, maybe that's what you need. Maybe you should just come to a place like this and just fucking dodge around for a bit.
Right.
Get your hotkeys on your keyboard nice and comfortable, real close together, so you can teleport or, whatever skills you have, be able to kind of pop them and move, pop them and move, pop them and move. And that way, you're just more comfortable and able to keep yourself alive, rather than have the gear keep you alive.
Gotcha. Yeah, I never thought. I've realized I've been doing that with cows because I've been doing everything I could. Like, good golly, like that freaking merc, he just runs in and just gets right in the middle of all of them, and I start running away to save his ass. So
cows are brutal because they hit hard and they have a lot of HP. But once you get them down, if you can get them in a big group and just kind of hit them with that perfect, zap of 3 different traps at once, and they go down quick, that feels good. But sorceresses and teleport itself has a little bit of an advantage for keeping your merc alive because it does bring your merc with you. So if he's in there in that group and you need him to get out, you just teleport and he comes back to you, which is nice for a lot of situations. But without having teleport, your merc's really going to need that extra because you can't get him out of there, without TP into town or running far the other direction, or just killing everything before they kill him. Those are really your only options. So if the merc's dying, in your case, because you can't get him away, if you don't have a way to get him any better gear to keep him alive, maybe he could have the best gear in the world, he's still dying. Maybe it's you. Maybe he's just in there for way too long, and they're not dying fast enough,
Okay. Side question: How do you put up teleports so fast?
TPs?
Yeah, I've seen you
town portals. How do I put up town portals so fast?
Yeah, I have to open up my inventory.
Right. So anything in you have the skill tree down here and a skill tree down here. I don't know if it's different for like console, but you can mouse over.
Oh shit! You do letters instead of numbers for skills, so that way you can do.
Yes. Now you have to set that up in your controls ahead of time. So my skill 1, and you can do both. You can have them dual, keys and whatnot. But anyways, and then like the skills I use the least, I do up here. F1, F2, F3, F4. But so my Z is always my portal.
Teleport. Gotcha. But you
always, for every single character, Z.
And you can't keep the. I think that what I'm realizing what my problem was, I was keeping it in my cube, keeping the books in the cube to save space,
yes.
And it wasn't working.
Cannot. You have to keep it in your. That's why I don't use the cube for much. I don't do the inventory cube just because too much of a pain for me. I'll just keep a 3x4 open, and that's good enough for me.
Okay. Because I was like, no, I assigned it. It's not working. Now I'm just now realizing it's probably because I had it in that cube. And
right.
You're confirming that. Okay.
Also, if you have like, this is a tomb, but if you have a separate scroll here, you'll actually see 2 of these skills. So one would be for the scroll, one would be for the tomb. So just make sure it's the Tomb of Town portal that you're binding. And for some things you always kind of want to keep the same with each character just to kind of keep yourself comfortable.
Yeah.
So any kind of movement skill like teleport or like a dash or a jump for some characters, I would make my R, and then like I said, TP is always Z. And then it's just a matter of switching my skills, TP in, teleport, and Sorks can do this telekinesis where we can pick up potions from a distance, pick up gold from a distance, and use certain in-game things like TPs. We can click on it and go right in. Same with waypoints. That's actually pretty much almost everything. But it makes the run faster. You do 100 runs and you're cutting out this distance every run. You saved yourself so much time in the long run. You know what I mean?
Okay. I think I do.
Kind of off topic there, but
Yeah, no worries. No worries.
Pro tip.
Pro gamer move right there. All right, last question. I keep coming in your stream and you keep doing these Uber runs, and I Google Uber runs, and it just seems like so far out of reach. It seems like what is an Uber run? Like how powerful do I need to be?
Sure. So to do an Uber run, you either need to have the most expensive, most ridiculously overgeared, crazy geared melee character possible.
Melee character.
Right. Or you just get a paladin.
Okay.
Right? Let's start with the basics. So you got to get keys, right? The keys are important. There's 3 bosses in the game that drop the keys. I've covered this in a video, but it's Act 1. And it's only Hell, by the way. Only Hell.
Okay.
Act 1, the Countess.
The Countess?
Act 2 is, yes, the Countess. Act 2, the Summoner. And Act 5, Nathalic. Each one drops a different key. Key of Terror, Key of Hate, Key of Destruction. Once you have all 3 of those keys, you can open up 1 portal in Hell. And that but there are 3 portals total that you'll need to open. And you want to do them all at once. That way you make sure you get 1 of each one. Because when you open your first portal, it is random. So you can't just do 1 portal.
Okay.
So you need 3 by 3. You need 3 of each keys to get 9 total.
Okay.
Once you get your 9 total, you'll open up your 3 portals in Act 5. Has to be in Act 5. Hell. And you'll go in there and you'll kill the bosses in each one. Each of those bosses will drop a organ piece. One's an eye, one's a horn, and one is a brain. Once you get all 3 organ pieces, you put that in a cube in Act 5 in Hell and get a 4th portal. And that portal is called Uber Tristram.
Okay.
In that portal is Mephisto, Super Uber Mephisto, which is the hardest boss, one of the hardest bosses in the game. Probably the hardest boss in the game. An Uber version of Baal and an Uber version of Diablo. Once you've killed all 3, whichever, doesn't matter which order, the very last one you kill will drop a torch. And you've seen these torches. They're a random class, +3 to a random class skill. It's a charm in your inventory. And some other stats. It's between 10 and 20 for all the other stats, which is very, very helpful.
Yeah.
For both damage and, stats and resistances. Just very, very helpful. So what I do is I tell people, go get the keys, because I have the character that can handle Ubers very easily, because he's a paladin, and that's a whole nother topic, because why paladins are better. Whole nother topic. We can go in there for a long time. But I have I kill him fast, right? And what's crazy, I kill him by myself. I just tell him, drop the keys, get out of the game. I charge 2 keys, any keys, doesn't matter which ones. Just so you got your 9 to open the portals, and then just 2 more. And then I just run it for them. Let them keep their torch. I just drop or I trade them their unidentified torch when I'm done. They ID it. Hopefully it's something great. If not, it just is what it is. That's how it goes. But then I have those 2 extra keys. It takes me 3 to 4 minutes to do that run.
So
If
it
you
takes
go
you
out and
longer to
farm,
get the keys than it does
it will.
to.
Yes, yes. So now I have ridiculous amounts of keys
Uh-huh.
that you're not getting 2 keys in 4 minutes. I don't care how lucky you are. I mean, maybe once that might happen to you, but if you're out farming keys, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while, and you really want a sorceress because you want to be able to teleport because you got to get to those bosses quick, because they have a 1 in 10 chance of dropping the key.
Okay.
And you need 3 of them from each boss, so it's a lot of killing. So we just explain what I do for people. What you catch me doing on stream is that I'm killing their Ubers for them, but I do charge them the price of 2 additional keys, which I keep for myself. And then that's why you see every Friday, I give all these keys away, or all these torches away. I'm sorry, all these torches, I give them away.
Gotcha.
In a big raffle.
Gotcha. So pretty much you stream almost every day except Mondays.
Right.
And I've seen you promote the Uber runs. Is it always the same time, 8 o'clock?
Usually it's just an hour or 2 a day.
8 o'clock Eastern time?
Is what I do.
Gotcha. So people can get on the list and they collect keys. You will do the Ubers for them. Yep. And eventually with enough torches and all that kind of stuff, they'll be able to do it their dang selves.
Yeah, eventually, yeah. A lot of people have watched me do it, and eventually I've built a character similar to mine. And, a lot of people said the YouTube videos help, and they let me know. They've all let me know, in chat and stream, hey, I did my first Ubers today, and it went well. And I'm like, great, man. Awesome. Glad to hear it,
That's awesome, man. Well, dude, thank you so much for all this. We'll be playing. Thank you for convincing me to finally give the game a try. I'm having way more fun with it than I thought I was going to.
So happy you are, man. To be honest, I didn't think you'd have as much fun as you are. I thought you'd be done by now. So it's really cool to see you going at it. But yeah, man. Yeah, it's just a grindy game, but it's fun. It's fun to play with friends. And it's fun to just compare gear, and it's fun to talk about. It's fun to talk shop about. It really is.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so crazy because, less than 3 months ago, you were average 5 or 10 viewers, and and it's such a short amount of time. It's so common to see 250 plus people in your stream, and how you've been handling that is just like to grow that fast, and for you to be able to handle that, and the chat just like zooming by, and like I'm so proud of you watching that, how you're handling all this. And the community, I'll tell you this, man, the community you have grown has been such a help to me. If anybody highly recommend getting into Hatrix's Discord, because they have been super patient with noobs like me. Like, they've answered all the questions. They've dropped gear for me. Like, it's like he's built such an amazing community, and I really appreciate every single one of them. Because like you said, it just makes the game 10 times more fun.
It does, and that's why it's an online game. There's been a lot of people that played single player, and it used to be very toxic back in the day, very, very toxic. We're talking like Call of Duty lobbies, toxic, right? And
not quite as bad as League of Legends, but
right. And a lot of people would play Diablo 2, the older version, on single player because they don't have to deal with all that crap. And there's other reasons as well. There's bosses, but anyways, now that it's revamped and it's online only, pretty much. I mean, you can play offline mode or single player, but it's still online, so you might as well just play it online. So now you're kind of, I don't want to say forced, but it's more beneficial for you to play with people as well as ask for help. But yeah, my community is just amazing, man. And we have our core values where it's all about helping. There's it's a grindy game, and we all remember playing it for 10 hours a day when we were kids, and we can't do that anymore, right?
Right.
So, all these people are like, man, I remember having a lot more fun when I could play it 10 hours a day. But now I have 2 hours a night because of the wife, the job, kids. And it's like, we try to help out.
Right.
And we all try to help out. And I've had people in my chat that are like, hey, cool, I just rushed somebody and helped out. What do I get? What's in it for me? And I'm straight up told on my face, nothing, man. If that's how you feel, this isn't the place for you, dude.
Right.
Like, it's not it. It's not a good fit. We'll have to move on. And that's okay.
A rising tide raises all ships.
That's right. And we're all happy about it. Everybody's happy to just be a part of it. Everybody's happy to help, happy to get help. And I'm sure some slipped through the cracks as far as people that we weren't able to help at certain times. You know, it happens, but we do our best, and that's all you can really ask at anybody.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's going great. Best community I've ever seen.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, as always, give it a big thumbs up, subscribe, follow, whatever you do on whatever platform you're watching this on. I'm going to put descriptions in the description. I'm going to put Hat's Discord channel, you know, his YouTube channel, his Twitch, and all that kind of stuff. Definitely check him out. I've been playing Diablo. There's been times where I normally would stream, and instead of streaming, I'm like, hey, let me turn on his stream because I'm playing Diablo, and maybe I'll get some tips and tricks from him. And we will see you guys on the next one. And remember to keep moving forward!